Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today we're going to do a special video on how to use 3D die-cut prints in your card making. Okay, let's take a look at some of the die cuts we're going to use in our card making today. We have this beautiful rose pattern. We have these wonderful sunflowers, daffodils. This is something called dufex, and you'll notice that there's a wonderful metallic sheen and a texture to these. This is only done at one plant in the entire world. All the dufex you see is manufactured by one plant. A little expensive, but I think you'll see when you take a look at it how beautiful the cards turn out. Some carnations, hydrangeas, don't know what you call them, but they're beautiful. Blue stocky flowers, these wonderful pansies. And then I also wanted to introduce to you a new set of tattered lace dies that we just got in that I've used generously in these card kits. This is called Georgette Lace Square. What I love about this set is it's perfectly sized for card making, for one thing. And you get all of these choices in one set. You get, excuse me, you get a complete set of squares with this probably 3x3 die up here. You get one to fit a 5x5 or thereabouts card here. You get this little square, and then you have all these in-between sizes of squares, and it really works out neat for making your embellishments as well as creating layers and backing for your cards. So we're going to generously use this die set today. Okay, I've also made generous use of our gilding polishes and our glitter kiss. This one happens to be the Purple Mist gilding polish. You've seen me use it before. That's because I love it. It's purple, it's beautiful. This is the glitter kiss, and this one's called Pink Sapphire Kiss. This is a new product, brand new. Take a look at this. This is called a Glitter Kiss Duo, and this particular one is called Lilac Frost. But you can see it actually is half purple and half silver, so you can get some fun effects using this. We'll take a look at a couple card samples using that. And then another of my favorites that I use a lot is the Gold Treasure gilding polish. So we've used all these on our cards today. I've used a number of different card blanks and specialty papers. I used this new satin. I just put these up. This is satin paper. It's a lot like the finish on mirror board, but you can see rather than being reflective, this has kind of a frosty tone to it. It's just beautiful. I also used some textured linen paper. We have these in gold and silver packs, and these are really, really pretty with a die cutter and as background paper. I used a variety of different card shapes. The truth is, I grabbed things from all around my crafting areas, so I kind of have a mishmash of assorted supplies. My goal is not necessarily for you to buy all of these supplies, but for you to look at your own craft stash and say, what can I use that I already have on hand? I grabbed these A2 black cards and envelopes. They're wonderful with the glitter polish and the gilding polish and the glitter kiss. I have this pack called Tuxedo that had both black and white card blanks in it, and I used this pretty generously. I used a large part of that pack. I used those wonderful pearlescent cards from Anita's. And then I'll talk about this at the end of the video, but I used this nice pack that had soft lavenders, pinks, and yellows. In addition, I've used a variety, I stuck this in to remind me to say, I also used a piece of black glitter cardstock I happen to have on my crafting table. And I used this wonderful mask from Hunky Dory. Let's take a look at this. I left my masking on my mask so you could see what I was doing with it. This is one called Books. And as you can see here, there's actually a variety of different patterns on this one mask. As I was working on the last card that I did, this is the mask that I wanted to use. So I took my easy remove tape, my purple tacky tape, and I went around that and masked off everything I didn't want to use so that I had clear and easy access to this opening. And I'll show you the card that I did with that. And then as long as I'm using it, I just leave it taped up. When I'm done, I can pull this off and just wash off any residue that I have left, and my stencil's ready to use again. But this is a nice way, by taping off the extra portions, it's a nice way to be able to protect the rest of your card that you're not wanting to do when you're doing your corners, and access only the part of the template that you actually want. I love this book's template. A few other little scattered supplies that I used. I used these two of these sheets here extensively. This is from Star Forms, and I used both the gold and silver sheets. This is number 1088, and they're borders and corners, and I use these extensively in my cards. These are wonderful. One of my goals here was to show you what kinds of elaborate decorations you can create just using borders and corners without a lot of other fanciness. Sometimes you can get great results just with your borders and corners. I used some of my leftovers from the Dot and Do kit that I just did in my video recently. These happen to have been from the Vintage Flowers collection. I think I kept calling it Purple Flowers. It was actually called Vintage Flowers. And these were my leftover sheets. And I did some fun things with these. This is just a sticker sheet that I had. This is a piece of netting. You can use real netting. You can use, there's a variety of different dyes out there with netting. You can use stickers that are netting. I used one here called Medallions. I don't know if this is still available from Hot Off the Press, but we have lots of similar patterns available that have a couple of nice wider border pieces and accents, and I'll show you what I did with that. You've seen this a couple times. I took a sheet when I was working on, I believe it was the Unicorn kit, I took a sheet of double stick dazzles. I peeled off the outer layer that I didn't want, and then I glittered all the hearts on the sheet. And I've been using that sheet on video after video since, and I used some more of these hearts in today's cards. Of course, I had some jewels, some bling in a variety of colors. I used foam squares. I used my trusty hunky-dory finger lift tape, that purple easy lift tape that we just talked about, and I used my tattered lace glitter. One other supply that I used, and we'll actually do a really short demo of this when we get to that card, but I also used an Ornare template. This is not something we've talked about before, and I want to show these to you because these are a lot of fun. I used a piercing tool, and of course I used Maribord. So let's take a look at some finished card samples. This first card is completed using an Anita's A6 card. It's that pearly finish. And you can see that my sticker work on this card is really minimal, but pretty and effective. I put a single wavy border across the top. I put two wavy borders across the bottom, a little simple hello there from my Tiny Words gold sticker sheet, and then my textured or my layered 3D work. It's simple, it's straightforward, but I think it's really pretty and really effective. Next, I stepped it up a little by using my corners. Put my 4 corners on first and then connected those corners using the wavy borders. And this one says get better quick. Of course, we always like to kind of perk up our butterfly wings a little. These cards had them perked up, but now they've been stacked a little bit, so it never hurts to perk them up a little when you're ready to use them. And our 3D work, and I think that's really, really pretty. A lot of people are using these 3D die cut sheets with the dot and do, and that's certainly something that you can do. They're substituting the cutout, the scissor cut flowers and the dot and do kits for these 3D pieces that are punch out and assemble. And they're used just the same way. You just punch out the pieces and then layer them from the largest to the smallest pieces. Here's where I have used some of those glittered hearts that we talked about. I just put 2 down on my paper and then ran my roses across it, and I think that's a really pretty look. Putting my corners, my corners in the corners, and then my little border pieces connecting them. Little I love you seemed appropriate for this card with the pretty hearts on it, and I love the way this turned out. I think that's really, really pretty. Now let's take a look at some cards where I've kind of done some unusual things with those borders and corners. You can actually use those corners in a variety of ways. Here, I've taken the corner stickers and I've used a variety of different corners, joining them together to create some fun and fancy corner pieces. In this case, I've also just taken one of my tattered lace oval dies, cut myself a square of burgundy colored velveteen in the back here, and I think this thing turned out beautiful. Soft yellow card. This is an A6. All of these so far have been European A6, approximately 4x6 cards, but didn't that turn out beautiful? Here's another one using a similar technique. This time, I have just used 3 of those corners. I use a larger corner and then 2 smaller corners coming off of that. I put a little iridescent rhinestone right in the center of each of those corners. Put my 3D on, and then I used some of my leftover stickers from that dot and do to kind of create this little starburst pattern around my flowers. Added a little just because, and I think that turned out beautiful. I really, really love this card. Next up, let's look at some wilder border and corner work. This time I started by making an X across my card with 2 wavy lines. Then I took 2 of the larger corners, smaller corners off of that to create this piece on the side, on each side. On the top I used 2 little corners, and connected with a wavy line. Same down here. I get better quick, and I think that's a fun and interesting card. Now here again I've used rhinestones, 3 rhinestones here, one between the 2 large corners and one between each of the smaller corners. You could certainly put more on, but I just like that extra little touch of glittery eye-catching that happens by putting those little iridescent rhinestones in there, and I think that turned out really pretty. Here's another fun and really different card that I created again. Once again, I'm using leftovers from the dot and do kit. The dot and do kit I had these straight line stickers on it, so I built myself a double frame with the straight line stickers. I used some of the leftover little flower stickers to create 4 corners. I put actual corner stickers in each of the 4 corners. Once again, these are little leftovers from the dot and do. I put these 3 little circles at the bottom, put in the simple word for you, and then put my 3D layering on top of it. And I love the way this card looks. I like the sense of balance, and it just is really pleasing. Next, here's another one of those pearl cards from Anita's. And this one I think turned out fun, but it did something just kind of really different. I joined 3 corner pieces back to back, and then I just put a line across behind them. And I like the way that looked. It's simple, it's straightforward, but you know, the daffodils were pretty simple and straightforward too, so I thought it was a good match for this particular flower. Put my little just because, all done. Now, I didn't line any of these cards, but if you wanted to line them, you could easily use those new Trim Me packs from Hunky Dory to cut insert sheets to size, and those are gold foiled, so they would work really, gold or silver foiled, they'd work really nicely with these cards if you wanted to do that. I have several family members who like to write in their cards, so I made these for those family members that like to write on both sides of the inside. Here's a glittery one. I've taken one of those lavender square cards. I cut a piece of silver glitter cardstock, just slightly smaller, so I leave my lavender border around. I cut a piece of that burgundy suede. You can tell I had a piece of burgundy suede paper next to me at my craft area. I cut that and made it, allowed the silver border to show. I created borders on the burgundy with my sticker sheet, those little wavy lines. Added my little happy birthday, and we took a very simple looking flower bouquet and made it look really fancy with all the glittering in corners. Okay, next we'll take a look at a couple of those Dufex cards. Look at the way that Dufex just captures the light and plays with it. Isn't that pretty? I've done it because the Dufex was already pretty glittery. I didn't add a lot to this. I took one of my lavender cards, put the four corners on, joined those with the wavy lines, created this little embellishment here with my corners, and I did put a rhinestone in the center of each of those. And then I thought that's all that card wants. It really didn't want any more than that, so I stopped there. Next up, here's a similar card. This time I used one of my lavender cards once again. I started by putting my 3D piece and my Dufex border on, and it just needed more. So I added a little wavy line here, a little wavy line below, a little wavy line at the very top, and then I created these embellishments using 4 of the corners stacked. And my little happy birthday off my tiny words, and I really like the way this looks now. Some of these may have been patterns that I looked at on an instruction sheet that I'll show you shortly. I want to give credit where credit's due, but to tell you the truth, I don't remember which ones I may have used their patterns for. I believe this might have been one where I used their pattern. This is one of the pearlescent cards from Anita's. And I have stacked up my happy birthday, which was right off the Dufex sheet. I stacked up my pansies off the Dufex sheet, just added the 2 borders, and I just didn't think it needed anything else. I thought that was really pretty. Just with the pearl paper and the Dufex, I thought that was beautiful, just like it was. Okay, here's the first of the cards we made using that Georgette die set that I told you about in the beginning. I love the way that this filigree work looks with the mat behind it. Both the mat and the filigree are out of that die set. And then I've presented that on one of the Dottie cards from Hunky Dory. This is a 6x6 Dottie card. Little Dufex in the center. This happens to be a sticker rather than a dimensional. And I have backed, actually, I was going to say I backed that with the textured linen, but I didn't. I actually cut this entire piece out of the textured linen. I like the way that looks. Next up, very similar card. This one just has the Dottie pattern on one side. And I've kind of reversed things. This time I cut the frame out of, the filigree frame out of the kind of salmon colored satin board, and this time I'm backing it in that textured silver. And then I just presented the entire thing on one of these solid white Dottie cards. There was enough going on with this that I just didn't think it needed a lot of background paper and things. I just put it on a white card. Now, had I chosen to do so, certainly a bow would look good on this. I could run a piece of ribbon through the dots here if I chose to on either one of these cards. If I wanted to, I could have run a piece of ribbon, open it up and run a piece of ribbon through all these dots and tie it below, and that would be really pretty. Either way. Okay, next up, here's that frame once again. This time I'm using one of those lavender cards. I'm using a piece of dark gray glitter cardstock, and I ran that through that frame die. Just put a defect sticker on it. I thought that was really, really just beautiful, the way those play together. Next up, this was fun, and it was kind of almost an afterthought. I used one of my soft yellow cards, created my corner treatments that we've talked about, put my little just a note there. This is a sticker, and I didn't want it to be sticky, so I actually put it on a piece of cardstock and cut it out. I liked the way it looked with a few little rhinestones, and then I put rhinestones to match that in my corners, and I like the way that looked. And then here's that other cutout. This time I used a piece of violet colored satin board, and I backed it. I don't know how well you can see it on camera. I backed that with a piece of gold mirror board, and this just, in person at least, this just looks so rich with that mirror board behind the satin board. It's really, really pretty. Here's another card where I'm using a fairly simple border. Here's that salmon colored satin board again. Used the small die, turned it as a diamond, and put my sticker on top. And again, I put my sticker on a piece of cardstock and cut it out so that I could actually layer that up. Put my little butterfly in the corner there so you can add some dimension. Added my little embellishments on the side. Didn't that turn out pretty? And it's so simple. It's a really simple design. I'm not using a lot of materials there. Just really pretty. Okay, here's one you've seen before. I had a sticker sheet that had a lot of images on it. Some of those images happened to be the right side to make a twist and pop card. So I created my belly band. As you know, I took, or you may know if you've seen our other videos, I actually changed the white twist and pop card to this beautiful rich purple color using that gilding polish. If you haven't seen that, look at our twist and pop video and you'll see how we changed the color of this. And added a little sticker to my belly band. And then on the outside, I'm using that textured silver. I've cut that in that tattered lace die. And I've put my Dufex 3D piece across that. I've just added some nice little corner embellishments, a couple of heavy borders. I know we all have sheets of peel-off stickers available. Grab a couple of your heavier borders, and then I put nice big lettering for my happy birthday. I like the effect of that on the outside. And of course on the inside, you get the beautiful look of having that all fan out for you. On the inside, I've used 4 of my stickers, my Dufex stickers. They'll be on the supplies list. Here's my happy birthday. This happens to be a sticker. You could just as easily use a die. And again, my little corner embellishments. Use the dies, use the things that you have. I know we're all building good collections of them. Here's a nice heavy sticker here under my happy birthday. This is a sizable card when it's all folded out, so I recommend some fairly heavy stickers for this. And then another little sticker across the bottom of my writing area. Didn't that turn out beautiful? Now to close this is really easy. You just pinch it. Pinch that closed and it all folds back up. And I love the way this looked when you put the belly band on the bottom. I couldn't run it over the top like you normally would. I put my belly band up from the bottom and just positioned it between my 2 lines because I thought that was pretty. Here's one that I just kind of created on a whim. I had a little piece of this lilac color glitter paper sitting there. I put a sticker on it. I put some 3D tabs on the back of that. I had this little net sticker. I stuck it on there, added a couple butterflies, and I liked the way it looked, so I kept it. Next up, let's take a look at some of the cards made using the glitter kiss and the gilding polish. Okay, this card has been made on a 5x7 card. It's one of the larger cards that I did. And if you take a look, and I don't know if you can focus in pretty closely here, honey, this is made using that book stencil. And I taped off everything except this stencil. I put it in my corner. And this is actually the duo. If you look closely here, you can see that we have a mix of the violet and silver colors in the glitter kiss. And I just dab it on right over my stencil. I get a little more material than I would to change the color of something. I get quite a bit of material on it, and then I just dab it over my stencil until I have all of my areas covered. In this case, I only put 2 stencils instead of the 4 corners because I wanted to kind of create this fan impression with my butterflies, and I love the way that turned out. Then I added some little iridescent rhinestones just to kind of set everything off. And a little secret here, this was the first one I did with the glitter kiss, and I got a little of my glitter kiss in uneven lines, so I used some of my straight line stickers that were left over from my dot and do, and I just ran green down the side of my lavender. If you're wondering why the green is there, not only does it look good and it serves that purpose, but it's hiding mistakes in my glittering along these two, on those outside lines. But I think that turned out beautiful. With the glitter kiss daubing it on the way we've just talked about, you end up with this neat texturing effect too. It'll take a little while to dry, but it sure was worth the effort. I like the way that card turned out. Next up, let's take a look at one done on black. This once again is the violet and silver duo. And look at the way that shows on the black. Isn't that pretty? Once again, we've got the dark purples in there. We've got the silvers. It's, of course, naturally on a dark background, you'll see the silvers more than the purple. But as you look at it, you do see the purples in there. I chose this time to put 4 corners on. I matted my black on a piece of white with a super narrow border. I just put my straight stock there, added my butterfly. Here's some little leftovers from my dot and do kit. Added my little get well, and I love the way this card turned out. I thought that was really fun. Very, very pretty. And this was just really satisfying to do. It was fun. Okay, 2 more done on dark backgrounds. Here's one using the gold glitter kiss. Again, making my stencil using just the piece I want by taping off the extra pieces. Sometimes you'll get some little smudgies here and there doing stenciling work. That's kind of inherent to the material. I wouldn't worry about it. I will still give this card, even though I have just a little bit of smudginess up there. I still think it's beautiful. Added some I wanted to kind of draw out some of the greens because I'd already played with the golds, and I wanted to draw out some of the greens, so I put these rhinestones around to kind of fill the void, fill the space there, and I like the way that card turned out a lot. One more. Now this time I'm using the sapphire pink glitter kiss. Look at the way that looks on that background. Isn't that beautiful on the black? And then I created a little wavy line rectangle, made it slightly longer than my topper so I could put the greeting inside, put the thinking of you, set that in so it overlaps my lines just a little bit. And isn't that pretty? Really, really like this one. This is probably one of my favorites. Let's take a look at another of my favorites here. I'll do a little project work here to show you You may be familiar with Ornare and you may not. It's been around for a long time, and if some of you have done Ornare in the past, time to get those stencils out and start playing with them again, because aren't they amazing when that pricking work, that's what you call it, is pricking through a stencil. When you do that stenciling on mirror board, isn't that fabulous? In this case, I've taken that mirror board, put it on a little sheet of adorable scoreable that is just slightly larger than my mirror board, and I love the way that looks. Oh my gosh. Let's take a look at how we do that. Bring this in. Okay, one of the things that I recommend that you do is that you tape your stencil in place onto your card. I may not have enough sticky left on this. I kept my purple tape out so I could give it another little shot here. In this case, my pattern, normally I would just tape it down to the outside, but since my pattern goes clear to the outside of my stencil, I'm just rolling tape and putting behind the stencil for this one. Ornare stencils are an excellent investment. If you don't have one, I encourage you to get a couple of them because they're inexpensive. I believe this one is $8.99 if my memory serves me correctly, in that range anyway. And I can use it forever. I've had this stencil since the earth was cooling. I happen to be using a retractable prick pen. You can use a needle, you can use a pergamano needle, you can, any kind of a needle tool. And all I'm going to do is just poke right through the holes in the stencil, working my way around. Now something fun happens as you work on mirror board. I'll see if you can see it in the light there. You kind of get the glitteriness of the mirror board showing through. That makes it easy to know whether or not you've done a particular area. Another way you can tell is to flip it over and look at it from the back. This mat that I'm using happens to be a stamping mat. For a back, you will need a background mat when you're doing Ornare work because obviously you're pushing a needle through your cardstock, and yeah, you don't want to do that on your knee. So you need something behind there to hold the needle. One of the things I found that works great for that is your mouse pad. You know, it'll have little pricky holes in it, but it won't hurt its effectiveness as a mouse pad to just grab your mouse pad and work on that. But this is how you get that pretty textured look in your mirror board. And I wouldn't normally take it off, but I want you to see what we've just done in just that little bit. Look at that beautiful swirl that we've got there. And we've got these templates, these pricking templates that are borders. We've got corners. We've got full page patterns like this one. We've got a variety of these. It's called Ornare, or it's also called piercing. And for obvious reasons, we're piercing through the paper. And that's just a fun, very, it's anxiety relieving. If you're feeling stressed about something, it's a wonderful way to work out your aggression. And it's just lots of fun. So let's take a look at that finished card again. There we go, and isn't that pretty? Now I did absolutely nothing to this except to back my mirror with just a complementary color and put my 3D work on it because I think the card carries itself. Now certainly I could put bows, I could do other things, but I thought it was really, really pretty and effective just like that. I'm going to have a special value available for a limited number of newsletter subscribers here. So if you're watching this video, be sure and run to your newsletter and click over on the link to get this kit. This is a special value. We've actually had these kits for a long time, and as those of you who follow us know, we've just recently moved our warehouse, and deep back in the recesses of the warehouse, we found this wonderful kit that had been put away and forgotten. I have just a handful of these available, but that's the kit that I used as a basis for today's demonstration. And those of you who are fortunate enough to get it are going to get a great deal on this kit. It comes with 2 idea sheets. Look at these beautiful card samples. Now there's many, many, many ideas here, in addition to the ideas I've just given you for how you can use these beautiful prints that we've been looking at. Some instructions both for layering up 3D, both in English and other languages. Ecstasy Crafts did their own project sheet with this. Here's 3D prints you're going to get. You're going to get not 1 but 2 Dufect sheets. These normally sell for about $5 a piece, I believe. Here's the second one. Here's this sheet. 2, 3, 4 3D prints, each of these 3D sheets will make a total of 3 flowers. So there's 18 completed 3D pieces there. Here's the stickers that I was using on my cards, and these are also included in the kit. The only ones I did not demonstrate for you were these little ones, and these would make most wonderful envelope seals. That's what I would use those for. So we have this. The kit comes with the 2 sticker sheets that I use the most, the 1088 in both gold and silver. A sheet of foam pads. You get a packet of the lavender, pink, and yellow envelopes. I'm not sure exactly how many are in here. I think there's about a dozen. Okay, you get a total of 4 of these lavender square cards plus the envelopes. You get a total of 4 of these soft pink plus the envelopes, and you get a total of 4 of these soft yellow plus the envelopes. Now you know that I have used some additional cards in my samples, but here's 12 nice cards to get you started. And this will be value priced. There will only be a few of them. If they sell out, I'm sorry, but you will have the ability to purchase similar materials individually. So I still wanted to give you all the opportunity to be able to see a video demonstrating the beautiful 3D layered effect and what you can do with some of your stickers, both from your Dot and Do, your Glitter Kiss, and your corners and borders, using kind of non-traditional uses for those. I hope you've enjoyed our video. If you have, please follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter if you haven't done that. Newsletter subscribers get first option at some of our sale items, and they'll get our newsletter subscribers get a notice when we produce a new video with links to all the products we used. You can find our newsletter at the back of our homepage, at the very bottom of our homepage, www.simplyspecialcrafts.com. Just scroll to the bottom of the page and enter your email address, and we'll start sending you our newsletter. I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Have a happy day.